Good morning, everyone, and it is morning. It is 7:22 a.m. and I've been up since 5 in the morning. Well, 4:50, because I have to walk my dogs, and if I don't walk them now, I'm going to have to. Well, I get off at 5, so I'm gonna still walk them in anyways. But I just like walking my dogs. But anyways, enough about me. You've not interested in me. You've come for this review slash overview slash thoughts on Gils all fright diner. No matter how many times I say all night fright diner, that is not the name of this book. So keep in mind, I am going to probably call it Gils all night diner several times because I always refer to this book as all night diner. But it's called all fright. So if I succeed in my tasks, there's 2. 3, but 3 is more like a coincidental, that's how I'm going to go about it type of a deal. But if I succeed in my task and you do decide that you want to read this, it's All Fright Diner, and it is by A. Lee Martinez. I have no idea what the A stands for, because he always refers to himself as A. Lee Martinez, and I've been too lazy to check, but it's A. Lee Martinez. So, the overview, I'll start off with an overview of this book. And basically, werewolf and a zombie driving around, they come into a diner and they notice a zombie's attacking. The woman hires them to help out. And through it all, they end up saving the world because they end up saving the world from a Lovecraftian old god type horror. And that's the main plot of the book. You don't read these kind of books for the plot. I can go into detail and tell you, chapter by chapter what the plot is like, what happens, and all that. And it's not going to really. It's like Logan, the movie Logan. You can tell people what's going to happen, but it's not going to detract from actually seeing the movie. And that's how this book is. You read this book because it's funny. It's jokes. It's got great humor. The characters, while not like super fleshed out, are likable. And I think I'm going to probably focus more on the characters than I am on the actual plot. You're going to learn plot, but yeah. Also, spoiler review. I know I said spoiler review. There is going to be a spoiler review, but again, that's not going to really take away from this book. So, let's start off with the 2 leads. A vampire named Earl and a werewolf named Duke. And I'm pretty sure that's a reference to the Duke of Earl. But I could be wrong. Okay, let's start with Duke, because he's arguably the simpler character, because he says less and he does less, but he might not. He's probably not. But Duke is a werewolf, and Duke is a very large man, even without his magical werewolf powers. I think he's almost 7 feet, or he's over 7 feet. I think he's almost 7 feet, and he's got a big beer gut and redneck trucker. In fact, he was a trucker. Before he became a werewolf, he was a trucker. And what happened was he was driving, and then somebody jumped into the middle of the road, and he ran over its head. Turned out to be a werewolf. That's his backstory. And so Duke, he's one of those characters where he's smarter than everyone thinks, and he smiles, and he talks very, very little. Very little. It's very rare to see him smile. He's a good guy. He's not like one of those. He's just one of those people that people know not to mess with. And werewolves have some pretty cool things in this book. It's not like in other books where it's all the vampires have all the neat tricks and everything, and werewolves, they just got maybe super strength and that's kind of it. No, in this book, werewolves they're stronger than vampires. It's not any two ways about it. It's not, the vampires could kill them because eventually they'll get the drop on them, or they're faster. No, the werewolves are basically a force of nature. They're tanks. They're the ones that when you need killing, you want a werewolf. And so the first thing that you find out is no, he's just stronger than werewolves, than vampires. I think Earl once said that he saw Duke take out 5 vampires at once, and all he lost was an arm. But the vampires were ripped to pieces. And he's got some other neat abilities too, like he doesn't have to transform to tap into his strength. He's stronger at night than he is in the day. He can see and hear spirits, but not on the same level as a vampire. And he's very, very good with animals. Like, animals just like him. It's not like in other stories where they can sense the werewolf, so they'll hide in their shell and they'll starve to death, or the dogs won't stay near them. Right? No, dogs and animals love him. He can kind of understand them too. And then the vampires have more sneaky, subtle type abilities. Like they can shapeshift into fog and mist. Kind of gotta be careful with mist because like your limbs can get blown away and then you have to wait for them to get back. Like werewolves, they have great regeneration, while not as fast. They do have some level of superhuman strength, but again, nowhere near what a werewolf has. But one of the coolest abilities. That sounds like I won't try to sing. Don't get scared. Is that they can touch ghosts. They can feel ghosts. They can come in contact with they can kill ghosts. And that's pivotal for his love interest. And they're not like getting a stake to the heart will freeze them, but it won't necessarily kill them. You got to chop off their head for that. So being a vampire it's okay. Oh, they're not affected by chemicals. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's magic chemicals, but they're not. They can drink all they want, nothing happens. They can drink hot coffee all they want, nothing happens. It doesn't really affect them. They're more in tune. They're in tune too, like the werewolves, but on a different level. Where it's werewolves, they kind of like sense it with their hearing and sight and smell. Where vampires have like a death sense or something like that. Like he woke up when things were gonna get real bad. He's like, we got to get out. We have to get out because he wakes up. Whenever he wakes up, because his subconscious says there's danger, he's like, no, we gotta go, and he did try to go. And he's an okay person. He's a bit scrawny. He's 90 years old. He's not too happy with the way things are. And I don't think we ever find out how he was bitten, but we do know how he met Duke. And what happened was Duke was so depressed and kind of like, oh no, I'm a werewolf, and all the problems or whatever. And so he just gave in to his animal urges and he attacked Earl. And Earl kind of like, hey, can you help me put these back in so this way I can heal faster? And yeah, that's how they became friends, and they watch out for each other, during different times. Yeah, that's Duke and Noah. Those are the two main characters. And the next character we meet is Loretta, and she's the one who owns the diner. Well, she doesn't own it. It's just Gil disappeared, and so she set up residence, and she kind of runs it. And she's this huge, stubborn woman. And, like, huge. It even says that Duke, who hasn't been with a woman for a while, swears off, beer for a while because he doesn't want to be with her. At one point in the story... And she's a nice lady. I'm just saying this is Duke's character. I'm not saying that she's horrible or whatever. It's just she's big and she doesn't dress conservatively. And I'm not trying to shame anyone. That's just, what's going on in the story. And she won't leave. Like, through all the weird crap that happens, through everything that they go through, she won't leave because it's not her place. But she's like, no, it's my place. She's even the zombie when you come in and they, when they come in, they show the zombies. It's not even the threat of being killed by zombies that's actually bothering her. It's all the money she's gonna have to spend buying windows and yeah, that's what it is. It's the money that's hurting her. It's not the fear of undead corpses coming in and eating her alive. It's yeah. So she's an interesting character. She's strong-willed. At one point, because when she starts hitting on Duke, it's like she's trying to do the whole ice thing, and it falls into her cleavage, and she's like, "Oh crap!" And it's funny. It gets so bad, and because they're in the middle of nowhere where there's nothing to do, so this is where people just take up occult stuff because they don't have anything better to do. They go golfing, and apparently Duke is a great golfer. Like he keeps getting holes in ones, and him and Earl they don't even keep track because Earl is so bad at that it takes like 6. He hits the limit, and they just have to move on to the next one. So yeah, and Loretta's a good person. She's nice. She's tough. The next main character we have is Tammy, and Tammy is the villain of this book. Arguably, because you could also say that she was corrupted by elder gods. So she's a very attractive Asian teenager, and she acts like a very attractive Asian teenager. Like she keeps bad mouthing this one lady, this one girl who has bigger breasts, and she let her boyfriend fill him up. She uses her sexuality to get what she wants, but she's bored, so she just resorts to cultish behavior, and she wants to become a god. And she has a cult, and all her cultists are supposed to call her Mistress Lilith. But here's the thing: she has one cult member, and his name is Chad, and he's like the macho. Well, not macho, because maybe he's a beefcake. But she doesn't keep him around for being a beefcake. He's just this dumb, horny, muscular guy. And basically, she even says she jumps his bones just every once in a while to get him to stay in line. Even though he's horrified of her, he stays in line. And you see that more towards the end, where he's like, fuck. Like, he starts to realize, oh shit, I messed up. And the only person that she kind of has a thing for is, funny enough, despite his huge girth, Duke, and that's just because he keeps turning her down. Like when she meets Duke and Earl, she knows they're both vampires and zombies, a vampire and werewolf. So she knows, and she's kind of she's the only female character that we see, although she's the only teenager that we see, and Earl does say it's worse with teenagers, who isn't pulled in by the vampire lust, which he does say is a pain in the ass. But yeah, she kind of wants Duke just because she can't. And again, Chad's pretty simple character. He was horny, and then he got himself into a mess with a crazy lady. But they have a sweet ending, because even towards the end, when she does start to bring over the apocalypse, and she starts getting the power of the elder gods, and then she and Chad are killed. They're stuck as like spirit guardians in the cemetery because nobody gets buried there anymore, which frees the previous guardian, which we're gonna get to. And they end up spending the afterlife just kind of fooling around, which she admits is better than what it was in life, because Chad's kind of small and he doesn't have stamina, but in death you're kind of what you see yourself as, and since he's always saw himself as a lover, he's actually a good lover. And the next character I'm going to talk about is Kathy. And Kathy is a spirit guardian, which basically what that means in the context of Gils All Night Diner is she died and she was buried, and the last ghost who was buried in a cemetery has to watch over the cemetery. And that's what she does. She watches over the cemetery. And she's stuck there, so when, Earl is looking around trying to figure out what's going on and going to the cemetery because, she's being attacked. Loretta's being attacked by zombies, so where do you go for zombies? The cemetery? Well, that or a research lab. Or if it's like a the comet passed over, then there's nowhere to go. But that's not the case there because there's people who are living just fine. You meet some other people, and so yeah, her and Earl end up falling for each other because, and even Earl says it's like, I'm nothing special, but I'm just the one person that she can touch and talk to, so she likes him. And yeah, so she's a zombie, but the thing is, she's a spirit guardian, and that does come with benefits. For example, later on in the story, she gets attacked. Earl and Duke get attacked by ghouls, and ghouls are zombies. They're like regular zombies, but when they're in the shadows, they're capable of slithering around. It's like fighting sentient oil. And the thing is, a ghoul in this universe it's powerless against a ghost, because the ghost can hit them and smack them away, and they're a lot more powerful. And so she saves Earl then, and then towards the end she saves him again. And at the end, because she's not the last person buried there, she gets to leave with them, because again you have Chad and Tammy taking care of the graveyard. So she's a good character. She has a dog named Napoleon, and Napoleon, he's a dog. Like he's a reoccurring character, but he's as much of a reoccurring character as a dog can be, without being able to talk. Or he saves some people, like when the monstrosities are coming out, he'll attack them, and he protects them. And we get Napoleon's backstory. Napoleon was a dog who chased a rabbit, and then he got run over by a car, and then the gates of heaven opened up, and he was drawn towards the gates because he could smell treats, and he knew that if he went there, there was always an area to pee in, and there was always places to run, and he would get the mountains of food that he wanted. But then he's like, well, I still have that rabbit, and I need to catch that rabbit. So he went away, and the gates closed, and he chased the rabbit. And those are the main characters. There's some other characters too, like there's one more character, but we find out what happened to Gil in Gil's all night / fright diner, and that is that Gil turned out to be the one who's reason behind everything. He was an occultist, and he decided that he wanted to rule the world, and so he tracked down the area where the diner is now, and he built it like a temple. And yeah, so he's a bad, and he's kind of like the only person in the book that's scary, because you don't really learn too much about him till the very end, when he helps Tammy trap the ghost, so this way she won't save the vampire, and who thus saves the werewolf. And you find out that he killed people, he tortured. Even as a ghost, he has the ability to kill other ghosts based on the memories that he can summon. And he's dangerous. He's the one character where, because when the ghost and him when, oh my god, Earl's girlfriend gets trapped inside the 8-ball with him. Their memories kind of like going together, and yeah, she learns just how terrible he is and how revolting. And yeah, he meets his end because he attacks the girlfriend in front of Earl, and Earl sucks him up, and he admits the guy tastes like shit. And yeah, those are the main characters. There's some other characters too, like this one guy who needed help with his cows from Duke, and Duke went, and he's like, yeah, your cows are dead, and you gotta kill them before they start eating flesh. And they're like, well, how long do we have to that? It'll be soon. Yeah, but how long? No, it'll be soon. And he's like, why? Well, because they're surrounding us, and yeah, they had to fight zombie cows. And it's a good book. It's a good book, and I like the fact that it felt like there's actual magic going on. Like, these characters are set in a world of magic, and it's not like, oh, well, this is it's a secret world nobody knows about, but the people in the town do know about it. Oh, I forgot. There's one other character that's recurring, but he has so little to do with the story. It's kind of like you don't really need him. I think Gil just Ailey Martinez just kind of figured out the name, and he's like, oh, that's hilarious. I got to have him in there. The last character who doesn't do anything really that important, but he's kind of there. He's there, and like, okay, well, he's got some jokes. Is Sheriff Kopp. The guy's name is Sheriff Kopp, Kopp. And yeah, they I don't know. He's the only character in here that I kind of feel is worthless. I guess he's just there to set up how weird the world is. The world is like he says, well, I got a call about a chupacabra, and they're like, well, isn't that supposed to be for the animal control? He's like, yeah, that's my job too. I do it all around here, but it's, you know, or he talks to Duke, and Duke's like, oh, you know, I've met people like this who catch on, who know more than they let on, and he admits, yeah, I'm a werewolf. But yeah, there's some great scenes. Earl got wood. He did get wood. He was out there in the graveyard with Kathy, and things were getting closer, and they liked each other's company, and he got wood. He did, right through the chest. That's where you want your wood. So yeah, it's a good book. As for who I would recommend this for, 2. Fortunately, I'm going to leave with who might enjoy reading this book. And the first and foremost, the people who would like this book are people who like to read. If you don't like to read, you're not going to like this book. That's kind of how it is with everybody. The second one is if you like humor, comedy, kind of parody, maybe. I don't know if you want to consider this a deconstruction. Let's put it this way. If you don't like Cabin in the Woods, you might not like this book. If you like horror, it's not really that tense or creepy until like the last third. But it's definitely horror because there's zombies throughout the book. There's ghouls, there's ghosts, there's vampires, there's werewolves, there's the occult, there's elder gods. So there's a lot of stuff to enjoy. So you know, you like horror, you enjoy creepypastas, or you know what? I could definitely see this as an area that people would go to if the SCPs were real. Like I think a lot of these would be cool SCPs, especially like the ghouls. I would like to see how they would be contained. But yeah, so this is my review of Gils Fright Diner. I'm going to end it with the correct title by Ailey Martinez, and I highly recommend it. So, yeah. This is Jimmy22 signing out.